So this is kind of our first go, really, at the Dadpod. We had some introductions, so we're going to kind of flow with what we think will be some good topics to start off with. That's why I want everybody to tune into the Dadpod, hashtag Wetoo. We're going to start off this week with 3 topics. We're going to talk about sports heroes. We're going to talk about 80s music, especially metal. I know Kevin's a big metalhead, but I really am a metalhead. And then we're going to finish with a product that we tried out that we're going to be able to kind of talk about that's going to affect dads, people our age and stuff. So, Kev, let's just start the dialogue. We'll start off with sports heroes, right? I mean, we can start off with the conversation 80s. I mean, you can't go without Michael Jordan.
You got to start, finish, end there.
I mean, you got to go. But let's talk about some stuff that's not the typical, right? Everybody's going to talk about one of my biggest 80s sports. I'm a Giants fan, New York Giants fan. One of my top guys, Mark Bavaro. Do you remember Mark Bavaro?
I remember. He killed my Broncos.
I mean, that guy, you talk about just showing up to work, lunch pail, never had much to say. I remember that catch in 86 against the 49ers when I think 37 of the players jumped on his back, and he just kept going through them like an animation, like a cartoon character.
Mm-hmm.
But Mark Bavaro's got to be one of the guys. If I could have a sit-down conversation, I think Mark Bavaro of the New York Giants would be someone to have that conversation with.
Which is interesting, right? Because is there a spot for Mark Bavaro in the game today, the way tight ends played?
That's a great question. I would say yes, because I would say at the end of the day, you still got to have someone who can block, still got to have someone who can situationally catch. I think this whole flexing the tight end like they're doing now and really just getting these giant, tall basketball guys who can run, I think you're seeing teams that are making, I mean, look, the Cowboys, they've done it with what's his name, Wooten, or whatever his name was, with you still got to have a guy that can go down 7, 8, 10 yards, catch the ball every time, but has enough lead in his pencil that when he locks on with a defensive end or a rush end, he can seal that corner and let the running back outside or protect the quarterback and still be a dump guy. So I think there would be a deal for a Mark Bavaro today in the NFL. I do. I think he'd probably be more recognized today than he was back in the 80s.
Well, that's true. Teams have changed the way they look at their tight ends.
I would
maybe
think,
more than the tight ends have changed.
I would agree. Who do you think, Kev? I mean,
when it comes to tight ends, this is
no,
a
just
little
in
bit
general,
later,
just an
but
obscure. You don't have to be. You can pick any sport you want. I mean, I'm
Well,
football, so I went with Mark Bavaro, New York Giants. It's someone that I'd love to talk to. Someone I'd love to. I just remember the way he came to work every day. Who's your guy? Who's your Mark Bavaro?
my Mark Bavaro is probably, and it's homerism at its finest, but John Elway. I grew up with John
He's
Elway.
not Mark Bavaro.
He's not.
Kevin. I mean,
if you want to talk about a Mark Bavaro,
that's like Michael Jordan.
Okay.
That's like saying, "Well, look, my obscure guy is Michael Jordan in basketball."
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
I know.
It could be baseball. It could be soccer.
Yeah.
In your case, it could be
Okay,
was
here you
pickleball
go.
around.
I'm
when
going,
you were
I'm
that
going to
age?
golf.
All right.
I'm going to golf. My dad's a big golfer. Grew up around golf, and I can't think of his name now. Payne Stewart. Do you remember Payne
Oh yeah,
Stewart?
died in the plane. Died in the
plane crash.
Pressurizing issue.
It's one of those moments in the spirit of this podcast, these dad moments.
Yeah.
I was working in Springfield, Missouri at the time, which is where Payne was from. And that plane, yes, everybody in it apparently died, and it was a pilotless plane, right? Just a horrific thing. And they didn't know where it was going to crash, what was going to be over. But I remember in the middle of being in news gathering mode, I got an email from my dad, and all it said was, "Sweetest swing I've ever seen." And that always sticks with me. Plus, he had that fashion sense, right? He wore the...
Oh yeah, he always wore the knickers, and he had the hat and the. Yeah. So what we want to do is we want to get feedback from everybody. Like, I'd like to keep going with this, Kevin, get some input from folks. Who are some of their? I'll call them their Mark Bavaros, right? Who's their guy that you remember that means something to you, that when you start talking about him, most people don't know about him at first, but once you start talking about him, showing a few clips of Mark Bavaro as a tight end, showing him run over the 49ers, showing him beat the Broncos, things like that, people are going to be like, I do remember that guy. So I think, that's the kind of stuff we want to do on the Dadpod, is talk about some of those things, not so much get wrapped up in the, comparing who's the greatest today, because we all know those guys today can't hold a candle to the guys that played when we were younger. That's just the way it is. I mean, Michael Jordan's the GOAT. There's no doubt about it. I mean, there's nobody. Everybody's arguing about second and third place. But yeah, we'd love to hear from folks who their Mark Bavaro is.
Yeah.
Their Payne Stewart.
Yeah, and from all walks of life of sports. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be great. Let's talk on the second topic we're going to start talking about is 80s music. Now I know you're probably too young to remember too much '80s music, right, Kev?
Oh no, no.
You're. So what were your go-tos in the '80s?
I have always been a weird musical creature. I run the gamut of things. So I think here's my question for you: if this is some crossover, because I know you're heavy metal all the way, I definitely had a period of prog rock and Rush and Yes and those sort of groups. But Steve Vai, Joe Satriani, those guys do anything for
Oh
you?
yeah, no, great guitar players. I actually met Steve Vai once when I was in high school. Crazy story. Staying in Dallas for high school mock trial, and we were waiting to. We heard that he was touring with David Lee Roth. He was playing with David Lee Roth at the time, and we went out front. The guy who was the parked the cars told us that oh yeah, they're staying. They're staying in the hotel. And so we went out, sat on the side. Actually, a bus pulled up, and out got the bassist Bobby Dahl from Poison, who's about 5'2" with long hair. Got out with these girls out of the bus, put him in a cab. They left. He said hello to everybody real quick. There was like 10 people over there. So we sat there. The bus took off. We were like, I guess nobody's coming. We walked downstairs. This friend of mine, my good buddy's sister, actually, we walked downstairs to go back in the hotel because it was easier to go through the parking lot than the parking garage than it was to go back around the front. So we walked in. It's that hotel in Dallas had the glass ball. I think it was the Hyatt,
Yeah.
and the Mavericks played not too far from there at the time. It was downtown Dallas, and as a matter of fact, the facility where they had the concert was right across the street, the concert venue, and so we go walking in there. Nothing's there. All of a sudden. As we're coming down, this van pulls in, and we've walked past, and I see the guy roll the window down of the van. He puts a card up, and the arm kind of starts kicking like this. So I turned around and walked back, lifted the arm up. The van drove in, made a big circle. The whole parking garage was empty. Made a big circle. We got, we paid no attention. It was just an old, not an old. It was just an industrial van. It wasn't anything that you'd say, oh, somebody famous is in there. And the van pulls up as you walked in from the doors, sliding glass doors. As soon as you walked in, there was escalators that took you up to the hotel lobby. We weren't 10 steps up going up in the escalator, and the door opens up, and it's the band for David Lee Roth. Steve Vai, the drum player, all of those guys. They all come there, hey, man, thanks for... Steve Vai's like 6'6", 6'7", giant dude.
He's huge.
High-fived us, said thanks. They all went up. The drummer for David Lee Roth's band bought us a Coke down at the little bar down there. We never saw David Lee Roth, but got to see Steve Vai. So Kevin Bacon, 6 Degrees of Separation.
Absolutely.
Kevin, hey, look at the guy that works here.
Right?
I think we should change it from Kevin Bacon to just Kevin in general.
There you go. There are way too many Kevins out there. But yeah, so, I had a stint with just about everything. I can't even remember the name of the band, but, in that Depeche Mode, that had a moment. There was a band I don't ever think got very big. You ever heard of Ned's Atomic Dustbin?
No.
Yeah. Sort of that 80s cross between punk and electric. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't listen to a lot of that,
No.
Kev. Now, I listened to 2 types of music,
Yeah.
right? I listened to whatever the radio had on, because I lived in this tiny little town, Cloudcroft, New Mexico. Actually lived down by Mayhill, and so we had to get our radio from Roswell and other places. Not a lot of choices. It's before satellite, no cable, any of that stuff. So we listened to what was ever on. Always listened to Casey Kasem's Top 40 Countdown, right? And then, but I was into metal music, so I listened to In Excess. I've listened to The Cure. I listened to all of that stuff. Don't dislike it, but I was into Iron Maiden. I was into Wasp. I was into Motley Crue, Ozzy Osbourne, right? AC/DC.
It's not the 80s without the hair band.
That's the stuff, and that's the $1 million question, right? I mean, at what point do we go from heavy metal to really hair glam rock? I mean, a lot of my buddies, if you mentioned Poison as heavy metal, would punch you right in the face. They'd be like, "That's not heavy metal. That's glam rock, right? That's not Motorhead, Ozzy.
If you have a big hit ballad, you're not
metal.
You're not metal.
It's hard to
right?
be, but I mean, Ozzy's got
Ozzy had a
plenty
couple.
of.
But that was later.
I mean, those are 80s. I mean,
Yeah.
But Iron Maiden, Judas Priest. I mean, I remember, years later in life finding out that Rob Halford is gay. I mean, no one growing up in the 80s, you didn't know of a gay metal singer.
Right.
So I mean, Judas Priest, Iron Maiden, Black Sabbath, AC/DC. I mean, just Ted Nugent, I mean, listening to the Nuge, some of his '70s stuff back then, Twisted Sister,
Twisted Sister.
Metallica made their debut, Scorpions. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, that's the kind of stuff I was listening to, along with Prince,
Right?
right? I mean, you can't have grown up in the '80s and not listen to Prince.
Michael Jackson? Is that in there?
Yeah, well, obviously he's on Casey Kasem Top 40. I mean, you can't.
Yeah.
I'm Bad. You can't have any of Thriller. You can't have any of that stuff without. I mean, those guys dominate. It's been interesting on Instagram. I think it is. I get these reels
Yeah.
that I look at, and it says top hits, number one hits in 1988, 1 second at a time, based on how long they were on the charts. So some songs, like, it's blink 1 second. Other songs, it's they'd spend 4 weeks consecutively, so you get 4 seconds of the song. But it's pretty interesting to realize how much Michael Jackson in the '80s was. Michael Jackson, George Michael,
Yeah.
Madonna
Oh, yeah.
were kind of, and then of course you can't forget Milli Vanilli.
Oh, no.
I mean, I'm shocked at how many times Milli Vanilli is in that number one hits in this year in the '80s, and then you realize that it was all a fraud.
All a fraud. So speaking of frauds or fraudulent, I have a question for you on the heavy metal glam band. I remember back in like '98, I went to go see, living up in the Four Corners of New Mexico, Loverboy, who
Okay.
was opening for Cheap Trick. I think we can say both of those are probably glam bands, right?
See, I don't
Loverboy for sure.
know. I mean, I consider those rock bands.
Okay, well,
I consider that more like the '70s.
still rolled out in the spandex. So this
Yes.
is my question. Like, what point do you guys need let the spandex go?
Well, some of them are still touring in the spandex today.
They are.
I mean, I've seen some of them in recent. Now, I will say this: most of them that are touring today sound much better than they ever sounded before, because they're clean, sober, they're not on drugs, they're in the best shape health wise. When we went to see them in '85 or '87, they were blasted out of their mind on a 5-day bender and trying to get up and sing. And now, they're traveling with yoga experts, taking healthy drinks and eating healthy and doing all kinds of Pilates and everything else to stay ready. Their vocal coaches, they sound great. But I consider Cheap Trick, I consider Loverboy, ZZ Top, I consider those guys. So I consider there's rock, I consider there's glam rock, and I consider there's heavy metal from the '80s.
Yeah, we used to have a lot more categories, right? That's something that's happened.
And now we just have crap.
Music.
Now it just seems to be a lot
We
of
have
crap.
music that is geared towards social media, right? Little licks, little things that are just designed to fit into those short reels and TikTok videos. It's not even whole songs anymore.
Yeah, so I mean, want to hear from you guys as well on what music. These are, this is just our first run at topics, sports. But we want to talk about this. Our goal, Kevin, I know we keep coming back to it. Our goal is to talk about dads, right? Talk about things that dads want to talk about. Hopefully as time goes on, we'll get more guidance from the people that are listening, from the fans that are out there saying, hey, listen, I want to talk about this. I want to hear from this person. I want to see you guys interview these people. What is it you want to hear, want to see, so we can get working on trying to get that stuff, trying to get those people to you,
Right,
and
again,
getting interaction.
Moving towards a point where they can even hop in a Zoom meeting and let
Yep.
us know as we go.
Yep, so that we could get questions from people as we're going along. And what we like to do is, as time goes on, we get the knowledge of knowing that we're going to have somebody sitting here or somebody coming in through a Zoom type meeting that we're going to have a conversation with. We want to be able to give the fans an opportunity to talk to these people, right? We want to be able to link people up so that they can say, hey, listen, you want to talk to somebody, we got this person here, now's the time, and we'll donate it. We'll put an hour to that if that's what the show wants to be about. We want this to be a place for dads, about dads, things that dads care about. That's why you're going to see when we go to our products here in a few minutes. We're going to talk about things that I find that I find help me as a dad, things that bring me, as the dad bod, kind of the dad pod, right? As we're changing in the things that we need and want. We want to make this stuff available. We're looking to reach the average everyday dad. We're not looking to reach the supermodel. We're not looking to reach, the multimillionaire guy that's got everything figured out. We're looking to reach the everyday dad, kind of like you and I, Kevin, that gets in the car after work and is like, I listen to a podcast and I'm like, they kind of get something that's affecting me. I kind of want to I want us to reach deeper than that. And that's why we call this the Dadpod, and that's why we have the hashtag Wetoo, right? Because there's all these movements out there nowadays. Name it, there's a movement. But we haven't seen a movement for dads. I mean, what about the dad who's going to work every day, trying to make ends meet, be a good father, good husband, good member of society? That's who we're trying to reach out to. We're not preaching to them. We're not telling you that you got to have this religious belief or that religious belief. We just want to have a conversation like we expect to have, sitting around, having a beer or a Coke or smoking a cigar, kind of like the conversations we had that happened at the Havana House Cigar Shop here in Albuquerque, New Mexico. When you walk in there, there's no telling who you're going to see, and you're going to have people in there defending Republicans, defending Democrats, talking about the whole system's corrupt. We kind of want it, and it's comfortable, right? Nobody has to worry about being accused of not being, going along with the mob.
Right.
Make sense?
It does. It does. And again, we're going to have lots of avenues for people to join us on that journey. So we want to get you an idea of what we're talking about now, what it's going to feel like, and we'll just keep evolving from there. But let's jump into the products. So you got some pants you want to talk about.
So I bought these pants, Kevin. They're called Terran, Teren.
Okay.
Terran pants, and they really have two pairs of pants. They've got the daily driver pants and the lightweight travel pants. And what I found, I know most people, the impression watching this that I'm probably 6'4", 195, svelte swimmer. I'm 5'9.5", 215 to 220 pounds, depending on what time of the day it is. And when I was younger, I was 5'9.5", 135 pounds. So I ballooned up during COVID as high as 270, and that was just a train wreck. And so I've been conscious about trying to lose weight, trying to do more, to get a little healthier. And during that time, trying to find the right clothing, right? Finding pants that fit my waist at the time. I mean, I got up as high as a 44. They were literally, it was like putting a trash bag over you, right? You're pulling them up, they're baggy. My wife telling me she wanted some more, kind of closer fit stuff. Now I'm wearing a 38 in the waist, so I can finally buy some, what I guess people would call some skinny jeans. Mm-hmm. But finding some pants that fit in the butt, fit in the crotch area, and still fit around your waist without cutting everything off. I'm not interested in looking like, a rocker on stage with, the potato in the wrong place. I'm looking for comfort. I found these pants. Terran is their name. Their website is, you can go to terrandesigns.com. And I'm going to tell you a couple of things about these pants. So I bought them. They're pretty interesting. They're made for travel. They've got all kinds of, they're supposed to dry faster. They're supposed to not stain, which they do. I bought them, and I took them on a trip just to California and back. Unbelievably comfortable. Neat thing is it has a drawstring to tie inside, and then it's magnets that latch it on the front. You have two magnets. It's not a button, not a buckle, not a hook. It's just two magnets. So they fit really well. I mean, they fit top to bottom, everything. Great pockets. I think they got some pockets that have got that RUI, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. You can put your wallet in there and no one can steal your identity. Right. They're made for travelers with the pocket zip. No cargo pants. They're not cargo pants. They look like regular dress pants.
What kind of material?
It's some, I'll look here. It's some sort of mesh type. It's almost like a weave, right? It's I'm looking on their website.
Cheetos, or does it feel more like that?
No, it feels more like the old Columbia pants you used to get that you could unzip and they'd have, they'd be shorts. Right. So it kind of feels like that. Doesn't look like that. They come in different colors. It's their material is extremely flexible and soft. Now the downside, didn't read everything about them, wore them, washed them, and you can't wash them. You got to hand wash them. You know why?
Magnets.
Sticks to they rip the magnets out of the pants. I mean, I wore them one time. Completely, literally, the magnet stuck to the deal. Washing machine spun, magnet came out, pants ripped. Now, having said that, contacted them, sent them back the broken pants. The whole process couldn't have taken 5 days. Had a new set of pants in my hand.
Wow.
No complaints, no anger issues, nothing you could see. that would really, that really drove them crazy. They're called Terran, Teren, and if you go to their website, this is not, we're not endorsed by these guys.
Right.
Our goal is to not get endorsed by these people we're doing these things for, because we want people to hear the good, the bad, and the ugly. I thought we'd start with some good. There doesn't seem to be any bad or ugly with these guys. Terran, Teren. This is TerranDesigns.com. TerranDesigns.com. They're made in the United States. They're out of Tennessee, I believe, is where they come
How'd you
from.
find 'em?
Just looking online, typing in things like a lot of people, right? Fat guys need pants, right? Skinny jeans for dads, stuff like that. You've got to weed through all kinds of stuff. Then I started getting some leads from, like they'd show up. My kids will tell you I'm a horrible Instagram guy, right? The thing shows up on Facebook ads, and I'm like, that looks pretty cool. I've learned, got to do a little research into it. But Terran, Teren is the company. It's at TerranDesigns.com. They're out of Tennessee. I think they make like 4 things. They make these lightweight travel pants. They make these daily driver pants. They now have a campfire puffy jacket. The reason they call it the campfire puffy jacket is you can wear it around the fire, and it's burn resistant.
Nice.
And then they have some T-shirts. I know they have that. Now, I will also say, they're not cheap. Right? These are not $29 pants. I mean, the lightweight travel pants are $129. The daily driver pants are $119. I've worn them once. They were really comfortable. The khaki pair tore in the washing machine. Got them back. I've worn the black pair a couple times, and I like them. I mean, they're great for work. You can wear them with a pair of dress shoes. You can wear them with tennis shoes. They seem comfortable for sitting down, getting up, moving around, bending down, doing the thing that almost makes you pass out every time, tying your shoes. They seem to fit really good, really comfortably. So I would tell people they're worth looking into.
Just remember, hand wash only.
Hand wash only.
Which is that's not nothing.
Well, and it's apparently you shouldn't have to, like, these pants are made to run through the water and hang up, and they dry in a matter of minutes, right? They're not supposed to be.
Yeah.
If you're doing something in these pants that requires you to scrub them in the washing machine, that's a whole different segment that we should talk about, because at our age, I don't think we should be doing that kind of thing.
Yeah, a whole other problem.
So you got a whole other problem. Any products that you've looked at, Kevin, in the last?
Well, not really that I've looked at, but again, in the spirit of this podcast, I was at Target on Saturday, and my oldest, he texted me. He said, "Can you pick me up something?" I'm like, "Yeah, what is it?" And it was a whole eye-opening thing. Like, I know manscaping is a thing now, but the amount of products in the manscaping world, I had no idea.
Crazy.
And I'm walking around and I can't find it. I can't bring myself to ask the attendant, "Do you have the ball toner in the 5-ounce bottle?" Couldn't do it. So that's not a necessary. I haven't tried it, so I don't know. But it was just an experience I had this weekend around products, and I'm like,
so you're gonna get into manscaping, Kev? Is that what you're saying to us?
No.
That you're gonna become the
my kids
manscaper?
they got what do they call it? The razor, the weed whacker, or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
They've got all that taken care of, but I'm not down with any of that.
I just bought some stuff from Dr. Sasquatch.
Oh yeah.
So another one of those ads that come across. Bought some soaps and deodorants, and so we'll talk next time about Dr. Sasquatch and that product, good, bad, and the ugly. That's but that's what we'll talk about more of this manscaping stuff. I think this is stuff that some of us are gonna have to come to grips with our kids. I mean, I grew up where you just got to make sure the stuff was clean. Apparently now you got to get fades and you got to get haircuts down there, and it just seems a little worrisome to me.
One of those times I'm glad I'm old enough. Nobody's asking or caring about that with me.
Well, listen, thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Dadpod. Hashtag Wetoo. Let us know what content you want. Give us your feedback. Let us know how often you want to hear this stuff. We're going to try to get more of this stuff. Kev, I don't know if we can figure out a way to maybe get like this website up when we're talking about it, things like that. Let's try to see if we can speed up the technology with what we're talking about.
Yep.
And love to hear from you guys. Like I said, Dadpod, hashtag Wetoo. Kevin, what are some ways that people can get in touch with us if they want to
So right now we've definitely got the podcast first and foremost. You'll be able to get that wherever you get podcasts. So Apple Podcasts, Spotify, you name it, will be there. Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and the YouTube will be a visual version of the podcast, like you might be watching now. And so those are the main ways right now. We'll see down the road. I don't know if TikTok's in our future, probably not, but you never know, or what else is going to be around, because who knows how long Twitter's going to be around at this point, right?
I feel you. Hopefully Elon will keep it going.
Yeah. But on that front, if people, we want to get to wherever anybody is, but we also don't want to waste anybody's time. But if people feel like a formal website where they could submit questions and things, we can move towards that. So that's another place where people should let us know what they want out of this and where they would come for that information, and that'll help dictate what we do.
Till next time, thanks for joining the Dadpod. #Wetoo. See you guys soon.